Wander Wealthy Podcast, episode 270. Welcome back. It's another episode here at the Wander Wealthy Podcast. My name is Tess Wicks. I'm the host of this show, founder of Wander Wealthy, and financial coach turned business coach for all my fellow money coaches out there in the world. And if you happen to be one of them, then you have found your place. This is a show committed to helping you build your booked out money coaching business, gain the confidence you need, start sooner, get clients, make more money, and build this however you want to, whether you want it to be a full-time business or a smash-and side hustle or just a thing you do every now and then that happens to make some money, then that is perfect. And I'm so glad you're here. Today, I am sharing a little bit of a personal episode with you. I wanted to break down 7 things that I wish I did differently at the beginning of my money coaching business and ultimately my career in entrepreneurship. I think that this is really good to hear, especially if you are brand new to the world of money coaching. Maybe you're just thinking about starting your own business. You've never started a business before, or you're thinking about shifting your business and pivoting it into coaching or money coaching specifically. This is going to apply to you. And also, if you've already started, but maybe you're not, very seasoned for that matter, then perhaps a couple of my lessons learned could apply to where you're at in this very moment. And you might, be at a pivotal decision, and maybe something I have to share today will help you make that decision to do whatever it is that you're trying to decide whether you should do or not do, or decide between 2 things, or whatever that looks like for you. So, fun episode in store today, but I just had to, before we dive in, make a little announcement. It's a reflection on the announcement I made last week in last week's episode, and that is that we have something very special and new out in Wander Wealthy land. I am launching a new program, and it's going to be a program all about how you can build your own financial coaching program and ultimately create and build your very own process, system, or framework. It's called the Coaching Framework Builder. Last week I was calling it the Blueprint, and I thought, that's so smart. And then after I was thinking about it more, I was like, what was I thinking? Because that is just confusing. As many of you may know, if you're not brand new to the show, my signature program where I work one-on-one with clients is called the Wealthy Coach Blueprint. And it is a full-on intensive of building your money coaching business, sometimes from the ground up, and you're very brand new and starting. Some of my clients have been in this world for a while, and they're ready to kind of hit the reset button because something's not working, but we do all the things. We go deep and we go hard. I'm not going to be offering that program and that style of working with me for a while because I'm going to have a baby soon coming up this fall. And so instead, I wanted to take one of the most highly sought after parts of that program, pull it out and offer it to you. So if you have been kind of sitting on the sidelines and especially curious about how to build, what does money coaching actually look like? How do you facilitate that? How do you deliver that? And how can you actually create something that feels tangible enough where people want to buy it and you also feel confident enough in selling it? That is where your framework and your coaching program comes into play. That is ultimately what you're selling, right? So how do you build that? Well, I'm going to teach you that in the Coaching Framework Builder. So you can head to wanderwealthy.com/framework to jump on the waitlist. This is something that's coming out. I'm really, really aiming for mid-August, but y'all know I have lots going on in my life with wrapping up some work things and getting ready for baby number 1 to come. I have no idea what parenthood is going to look like, and we will find out surely. But in the meantime, I'm also knee deep working on creating this program for you so that y'all have something great to work through. It's a self-paced program that's going to teach you how to build your life-changing coaching program, create your own framework, and ultimately be able to have something tangible to take out into the world. So head to wanderwealthy.com/framework. You'll jump on the wait list. That same link, just if you're listening to this in the future, will take you to the program page. So don't worry if you're listening to this like next year or in 2050. That link will take you to the page where you can get access to the program. But in the meantime, for those of you early birds who are waiting for it, you can jump on the wait list and then you'll be the first to know when it launches. So wanderwealthy.com/framework. All right, let's take a moment for the rest of this episode to talk about the 7 things I wish I did differently at the beginning of my money coaching business. And hopefully I can share some lessons learned and you can really glean some, hopefully business making lessons and insights from this so that you don't have to make the same mistakes that I did. You can do things a little bit differently and learn from someone who's sort of been there and done that. All right. So number 1 is that I wish I had started sooner. This might be obvious. I think we all, anything that we want to do in life, in our career, in anything, I think when we initially start the thing, we realize, oh, that wasn't so bad. Oh, I was making that up to be a much bigger deal than it really was. And I think a lot of us, what we do, especially when it comes to like starting a business or finally, like, even if you're not really planning on making it a business, but you want to start that Instagram account or you want to start that blog, we get really wrapped up in the perfectionism of it all. And also what I like to call procrastinating. I mean, I didn't deem that, someone else did, but I like to adopt that saying and apply it to a lot of things in my life, and also help my clients see that they might be procrastinating too. We love to engage and indulge in procrastinating because it's fun. It feels productive, but it's not, right? We haven't actually started anything. We're just like preparing to start. We're planning to start, but then the starting doesn't actually happen. So I wish I would have started sooner. And if I can be more specific here, what I personally wish I would have done sooner in my money coaching business was actually started coaching sooner. And here's the deal. For those of you who don't know my full story, I've shared it in many different facets. You can check it out at Wander Wealthy. There's the written version, there's the highlight saved on my Instagram, and there's also a podcast episode that goes through my story. But I started my business without really knowing what I was going to do. And I kind of fell into personal finance and financial coaching because it was something that I really felt like I had a handle on and I knew a lot about. I had somewhat of an educational background in finance. And so, I was really exposed to a lot of the things and was almost taking it for granted until I realized that this could be a big benefit for other people. But I did not initially, when I decided, okay, I'm going to become this kind of like financial expert, if you will, financial content creator, whatever it was that I was doing at the time, I did not start coaching at that time. I started writing. I started blogging about it. I started a podcast about it. I started freelance writing for various online platforms. Then I went in and tried to do a course, which was helpful for the handful of people that joined, but ultimately a flop from a business strategy perspective. And I really discounted coaching. And had I started coaching sooner, I would obviously be a lot further along today. Now, I'm no regrets, right? We all do things the way that it's meant to happen. But had I known what I know today, I would have just started sooner. And I think the reason I didn't was, one, I had a little bit of lack of confidence in my own abilities and capabilities to be a coach. And two, I was nervous to actually have that kind of face-to-face intimate relationship where the client could potentially see me failing. I think that's an interesting, vulnerable point that we don't talk a lot about when it comes to service-based businesses, but coaching especially, is that there's a lot of fear on the coach's end that, what they're going to offer, what they're going to talk about, what they're going to help their clients do may not actually help their clients, or they might be totally wrong, or they might make a mistake. And that's the reality in every profession. But I think when, you are your own business owner, you really take that to heart. You really, ruminate on it and worry about it. And then that keeps you from actually doing the thing. When in reality, you have no idea what mistakes you're going to make. You have no idea what you don't know until you get started, right? So starting sooner. And then the last thing, I think I didn't start because I didn't believe it was actually sustainable. And I didn't know. I didn't have any proof otherwise. I didn't have any proof that it wasn't sustainable, but I just figured doing the numbers in my head, I just, basically assumed I was going to be so successful right out of the gate that it wouldn't be sustainable versus just giving it a shot and then figuring out how to scale it once it was a champagne problem, once I did have too many clients. Instead, I just tripped over the start line is what I like to call that point in my life, because I didn't start. I tripped over it and instead made a bunch of assumptions about why it wasn't going to work. So starting sooner, that was number one. Number two is that I wish I would have known that ignorance is bliss and shamelessness sells. Okay, this is the real of it all. This is the type of conversations I have with my clients when we really get down to the nitty-gritty and be honest with each other. I think especially in the money coaching space, we're very hard on ourselves. We tend to be hyper analytical people. We tend to be people who overthink often, right? We'll over prepare, we'll overthink, we'll overanalyze, and that can really get in our way, right? The more you know sometimes, or the more aware you are, sometimes the worse it is for you, especially in building an online business. Now, I'm not saying go out there and be a total idiot, right? I'm not saying go out there and offer your money coaching services even though you know nothing about money coaching. Absolutely not. But you'll recognize and you'll notice once you join this online space that and you might even have these feelings and thoughts yourself, you might have these observations yourself, but you might see and realize that there's a lot of people who are selling the smoke out their ass, right? And we're not going to do that. We don't play that game. We're not snake oil salesmen. We provide real value. We provide education. We provide accountability. We provide support. We provide guidance. There's real tangible value there. And the fear that other people might believe we're selling snake oil is a whole nother thing to deal with. But once you recognize and embrace and are confident about the fact that you're selling something that is really valuable and really life-changing to people, because it truly, truly is, there's also this funny thing that happens that whether they're snake oil salesmen or not, there's a lot of people who are out there and are able to easily sell, easily show up, easily market. And oftentimes I find it's because they don't ruminate about the things that they don't know, and they just kind of go out there with a little bit of ignorance to, what people might be thinking or what people might be saying or how it might seem. And again, I want to reiterate that it is important that you're not just going out no filter and just talking and selling things that don't exist, and so on and so forth. I'm not saying go out there and be totally shameless that you have no boundaries, but there is an interesting thing that happens and that you might observe in this space where those who are less concerned about how it's going to come off do so much better, because nothing is holding them back from, as an example, if you're using social media to sell, nothing's holding them back from turning on that camera and hitting record. And it's because they're not second guessing and doubting. And whether that's because they truly don't know what they don't know, or they're just choosing not to give that any energy and power, I don't know what it is, but those are the people who are able to show up and make those sales and get the clients and then work with the clients. Now, this is kind of a lesson in the fact that the person with the more quote unquote successful coach, and this is unfortunate in a lot of ways, isn't necessarily the best coach. They're the better salesperson, right? They're the better marketer because they know how to get in front of the right people and sell. And a lot of times that's what makes us go, oh, okay, selling is sleazy, selling is bad, and I don't want to be that person. But the reality is we should want to be that person, not because it's sleazy or bad. Selling is neutral. Selling is the way you get in front of people and help show them the value that you bring so that they're willing to make that investment in themselves and in you. Selling is neutral. But when we equate it to, okay, there's a lot of people who are out there who are successful at selling because they don't know what they don't know, they're totally ignorant, they're totally shameless, or, they could be on the other side of the aisle, which is what we want to be on, which is, okay, we recognize that there are some gaps. We recognize that, this might look a certain way, but we're not going to give that any energy or power because we need to show up and we need to get in front of the right people because that's what's going to sell. So even though, when you boil it down, what we've realized is that the most quote unquote successful coach, and if we consider success in terms of like the number of clients they see and the amount of money they bring in, well, those are the people who are better at selling and marketing, not necessarily better at coaching. But you can be a great coach and you can be really good at selling and marketing. Let's just be both. Instead of going, oh, well, I don't want to be like that person, right? Who is just showing up and selling and marketing with ease, but they're like sleazy because then they don't get the results. You can be a good salesperson, a good marketer, and also a great coach and get your clients results. And ultimately, that's what we need in this world. We need more people like that so that we can actually get people results. Okay? So a little weird kind of realization, but this is something that I wish I would have really became aware of earlier and also embraced, is that a lot of my kind of overanalyzing, overthinking, overplanning, procrastinating is keeping me held back. And ignorance is bliss and shamelessness sells in the sense that like, if I don't know all the answers, it's okay. Because I'm going to stay true to my integrity and I'm going to figure it out. I'm not going to sell someone something that I don't know. I might sell them something. And then if they have a question that I don't know the answer to, I'm going to go fight tooth and nail to find that answer for them or refer them to someone who does know the answer. But that's not what I'm selling to them. I'm selling them something that I am confident in, that I have created, that I know works. And then that's just like the extra on top that I could maybe answer, or I can find them someone who does know how to answer that. All right. Number three, the third thing I wish I did differently when I started my money coaching business is I wish I would have stuck it out longer. And by it, I mean literally anything. Again, if you revisit my story, you'll know that I hopped around from thing to thing. I tried public speaking. Like I said, I started a course. I was blogging a little bit. I was doing podcasts. I did YouTube for a hot moment. And I have all my reasons for stopping certain things. And I do think it is important to like check your mental health, make sure you're doing something that's good for you. But there were a lot of things that I gave up just because I tried it once and it didn't work. And I think a lot of us do this. And we ultimately have no idea what's going to work. And the truth is, in this world, like, and by this world, I mean like the kind of generation that we're in, and also the timing and the online space that we're all operating and trying to navigate through. In this world, ultimately, the people who, there are people who go viral right away. There are people who get noticed, who get clients, who make money super fast. I don't understand those people. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I've coached some of those people, but I don't understand them because I was not one of them, right? And so most of the people who are like overnight success stories actually have been doing this for a very long time. And they just put in the work and they stick it out. And that's what I would need to hear. And I think it's one thing of hearing it. It's a whole nother thing to do it, because you really truly have to show up and post that video even though nobody's watching, and ask for engagement even though no one's commenting, and write those words even though nobody's reading. And you just have to do it until one person starts, and then another, and then another. And then it is really magical, because it truly does happen where growth happens exponentially. But we don't know how long until that exponential growth is going to happen. And so, this isn't an overnight success story. And building your money coaching business and what I can teach you, it's not overnight. It takes commitment, it takes work. But if you love it, or even if you like it, and it's a great way for you to be spending your time, and it's an opportunity you see for yourself to maybe work a little less in your full-time job, or to just create some extra spending money, or, supplement your savings, or you see it as an opportunity to go full-time and work from anywhere and, be able to stay home or not, go somewhere else and work, but do it on your own terms, then it's worth it. But you have to stick it out longer. Whatever, and it being like, yes, the business, but also the things that you're trying. You got to stick it out. Okay, number 4 thing that I wish I did differently when I started my money coaching business. I wish I would have created a framework for my coaching and ultimately sold my methodology. Now, this is something, if you guys listen to the first part of this podcast, that we have a new course coming your way. It's self-paced program. You get to go through it at your own speed. But it's an investment that you can make in completely taking, whether you have a coaching business or you're thinking about it and you really want to get started on the right foot, taking that to the next level. These are things that people are not teaching for free online. You can't figure this out by just kind of trying to look at other people's businesses. This is all the stuff that you need to know about building your own money coaching program and ultimately creating your own framework. And I'm going to teach you all of it. I'm going to teach you everything I know about what I've built for my money coaching business, my other coaching business, which is this one, business coaching for money coaches, but also what I teach and what I've witnessed so many of my clients be successful at when it comes to having this tangible program to sell and then having a named methodology that is their own, that they can really refer to and feel confident in. And it adds that tangibility also to the buyer's end when they go, well, what am I actually investing in? They're investing in this framework, and now they can see themselves being successful by applying that framework. So if you want to get the first sneak peek access to this program, you can be the first to know when it launches sometime. I'm shooting for mid-August, like I said earlier, by going on the waitlist. Head to wanderwealthy.com/framework to jump on it. But this is something I wish I would have done at the beginning of my business, right? I know I mentioned number 1 was started sooner with coaching, but then when I did ultimately start coaching, I had no plan. And that can work for you, okay? You can sell one-off sessions. You can just sell a package of calls. That can work. But if you have a framework, it makes your life so much easier as a coach because you have a process you can follow. It helps your client orient themselves in where they're at in your work together. And it also sells your coaching so much easier because no longer are you just oh yeah, we'll just get on a couple calls and I'll help you with your problems. You can actually align where they're at with where they want to go with the tools and the processes that you already have in place, We talked about personalizing that in last week's episode, and there's just so much more. But ultimately, having a framework for your coaching is such a great tool to have, and it will make you a better coach. It'll make you also a more successful business owner and make selling and marketing your coaching program way easier. And also, when I teach about building a framework, I also teach about what else you need to support that framework, right? How do you deliver that? How do you get real results and make an actual impact with your clients? So it's not just like, building out the step-by-steps, but then it's also delivering that and making sure that your clients get results. So you're going to learn all about that in this new program coming out in August if you go to wonderwealthy.com/framework. But yeah, that's also number 4. That's something I wish I would have had when I started. Once I ultimately got to the point of being like, okay, Tess, you can actually coach people. How about you go out there and try? So wish I had a framework. And famous last words. Number 5 of the things I wish I did differently when I started was that I wish I would have trusted that I wasn't bothering anyone. And this is so funny. This is the reason why I think so many of us just don't see the results happen. We don't see the, big plans that we put in place come to fruition. And it's because we get super excited about, okay, I want to be a coach. I'm going to build this program. I'm going to, set up my Instagram or start my blog or whatever it is. But then crickets, right? And there's no one coming in. There's no one buying. There's no one engaging. And, like I said, you do have to stick it out for a while. It's not going to happen overnight. But also, I think a reason why so many of us end up, either on the brink of giving up, or so many people do truly just like pack it up and leave, is because they really feel like now that they've, gotten so excited about this thing, they can't talk about it, right? You've developed all this maybe materials, assets for your business, maybe Instagram posts or ideas, but then you feel like, well, if I put it out there and talk about it over and over again, people are going to be annoyed, right? If I promote my offer, people are going to be annoyed. If I try to sell, I can't sell. I can't pitch myself. If I follow up with people, they're going to be annoyed. They're going to be bothered. And the truth is, and maybe this is the ugly truth, but so many people aren't thinking about you as much as, we would hope, right? They're thinking about themselves. They're worried about themselves. And if they are truly bothered, they'll just tell you, and then you just go, okay, that's fine. Most people aren't bothered, by the way. And I think this is something that has come up a lot, is that I think a lot of us are always running the worst case scenarios in our head because we're trying so hard to avoid those, right? We don't want the awkwardness. We don't want the rejection. So we're running all the worst case scenarios in our head that we're then not doing something in fear of the worst case scenario instead of doing something assuming this is going to work, right? I would rather have you do something because it's going to actually get in front of people. People are going to actually find out about what it is that you do, and the fact that you have a program, and the fact that, you want to be, interviewed on their podcast, or you want to do a collaboration, then constantly having in your mind, I must be bothering them. I better not, right? Might as well not even reach out. And I'll level with you here. I have these same fears. I have these same worries, but I think what helped me get over it was ultimately realizing that what I'm doing, avoiding bothering people, or what I believe is bothering people, isn't getting me anywhere. And so actually coming up with the worst case scenario and avoiding that means I have a very small, narrow place I can play. A very small, narrow place of the things I'm allowed to do in order to do business. So instead, I decided to drop this belief that I was bothering everyone and deciding maybe I'm bothering 1% of people, but that's not a big enough percentage to make me not tell people about this amazing thing that I have, because this is life-changing. and it's worth people knowing about. And they can choose not to listen. They can choose to unsubscribe. They can choose to unfollow. And that's fine. But I'm not in the business of changing me and changing my business and changing the things that I talk about and, not shouting from the rooftops about this amazing program that I've just developed in fear of, bringing them some level of comfort. I'm not in the business to do that. I'm in the business to get in front of as many people as possible so that they know that there's solutions out there. And I think we all need to shift our thinking to that. So trusting you're not bothering anyone. And the 1% of people that you are, well, it's none of your business what they think about you. And it's none of their business to come and tell you. And if they do come and tell you, then you just say, move right along, my friend, because I'm not in the business to keep you here if you don't want to be here. There's the door. All right. Number 6. The 6th thing I wish I did differently in the beginning was spend time on revenue generating activities and stop playing business. Oh my goodness. I've recorded a whole podcast episode about this. I'm going to have to go back in the archives and find which number it is, and maybe we can get that up for you in the show notes. But so many of us, because the business world, there's so much to do and there's so many options of things you could be doing. We get really wrapped up in the things that truly do not matter. And we spend a lot of time on those things. And it's shocking things because there are whole businesses developed and marketing to you about why these things are important when they're actually not. An example, having a website. Not actually that important, but there are whole businesses and actually lots of different types of businesses that are dedicated to making sure you know how important it is to have a website, when in reality, you don't really need one. Okay, that's just one example. And if you want to have a website, it's fine. But if you're feeling really strapped for time, or you're like, why am I working so much and getting so little results? You need to do an audit of where you're spending your time. And if your time spent is on actual revenue generating activities where you're actually doing business to produce a result, or you're playing business. And this can be hard to decipher because it feels like building a website is a revenue generating activity because everyone has a website. Every business has a website. But you really have to think what's the shortest pathway to getting revenue, AKA to making money, AKA to making a sale, AKA to getting a client. Right? And you spending time on your website, how does a client hire us or let me rephrase that. How does a client hire you from you spending time on your website? Well, maybe you're adding a buy button, but how do they get to the website? How do they find out about the website? And how do they get to the point where they find out about the website, right? And you have to go back and recognize how long is that pathway? And is there a shorter pathway? And oftentimes there is. So you really have to be discerning about where you're spending your time and recognize, am I spending time on revenue generating activities or not? And then accept and give yourself permission to drop it, right? If you've spent a lot of time building a website and then you're going, oh, okay, maybe I should spend a lot more time pitching myself to companies so I can get in front of my ideal clients and do, employee trainings about personal financial wellness or something. Or, maybe I need to be spending way more time in Facebook and, connecting with my ideal clients in Facebook groups, right? Because then I'm actually really shortening that pathway to my ideal clients and them ultimately inquiring about my services. So whatever that is, take a moment to really audit where you're spending that time. And then if you've poured a lot of time and energy in the website, it's going to be hard to break away from that. So just know you can come back to it, especially when you have the time, the resources. Now you have money coming in. So it's okay, now I have the time, or I can pay someone to build this for me. And then just know that it's a sunk cost in the financial world. So all the time you put into it, it's okay. It's okay to drop it. You can come back to it. it's not important for you to keep building it out if it's not making you money. So it's a sunk cost, all that time you put in, that's okay. Sunk cost. I mean, I don't know what else to say other than like sunk costs, they are what they are. You spent the money, you spent the time, and maybe we can make something of it, but let's not force it. Not right now. All right. Spend time on revenue generating activities. It's the best thing you can do, especially early on in your business. Number 7, this is the last one, the 7th thing I wish I did differently in my money coaching business, and that is dropping the shoulds. Okay? So you don't have to do anything just because you've been doing it that way, or just because someone else is doing it, or just because your coach suggested that you try it out. You don't have to do anything. Okay? We make up a lot of the shoulds, a lot of the things we feel like we have to do, we've created ourselves, like because we've gotten in the habit of doing them. So for a long time, I was sending out an email every week announcing the podcast, and then another email every week, on something else. And I was feeling really run down by it. But I kept doing it because I was like, well, I've just been doing it, so I just have to keep doing it. And it's like, why? Is that, your number one moneymaker? No. And if it was, well, then you don't have to be doing it. You could hire someone else to do it, right? Especially if it's making you money, then that's a good way to go, oh, this is a revenue generating activity. I'm generating revenue. Maybe I can reinvest a percentage of this revenue into someone that can actually do this activity for me because I hate doing it, right? But so many times we get into this like mindset of, well, I have to do this because that's how I've been doing it, right? For a long time, I did YouTube, and for a long time doing YouTube, I just kept doing YouTube because I felt like, well, I've just been doing it, so I have to keep doing it. And it wasn't making me happy, and it was really, a very difficult medium for me to be on at the time. And it was a lot of work. But I just kept doing it. And then I realized I don't have to do this. Even if I feel like I should, I don't have to. One of my clients has been making reels, and she felt like she needed to be doing these complex transitions with her reels because, if you look on YouTube or if you look on Reels or TikTok, people will tell you how to make your reels go viral or how people will stay around. And one of the suggestions is do a cool transition that keeps people engaged, right? And so you go, okay, so then every single reel I should do a cool transition. But then you get burnt out trying to think about ways to do the transition, or it takes a lot of time or whatever it is. And then all of a sudden you're shooting all over yourself. That's one of my favorite quotes that one of my old coaches used to say, Shauna Van Bogart. You're shooting all over yourself and you're stuck in these rules that you've made for yourself that aren't making you happy and that are getting you bogged down and burnt out and whatever it is. You don't have to do it, right? Some people believe I have to or I should do hour-long coaching calls. But a lot of times we finish early and then I feel all sweaty because I don't know how to keep it going. And then I feel apologetic because my clients might feel gypped or whatever. And it's like, well, don't do hour-long coaching calls. Do 30 minutes or 40 minutes. Pick the time. You don't have to, there's no reason that it has to be an hour. And by no means does that mean that if you shorten the time that you have to reduce your price because you're still getting the same results. So it's the same value in less time. You should almost charge more for that, right? But we just should all over ourselves and all over the place. And you know what? It's time to drop the shoulds. So there are definitely things that work. There's definitely things that, I would like my clients to follow. But if it's not working for them, I don't want them to keep torturing themselves and doing it that way. So we will find another way. There are a million different ways to build a business. And so, yes, there are some fundamentals. There are some foundational elements. There are the easier things to do, and then there are the hard things. And sometimes the hard things are worth pushing through and making happen, and they do get easier. And sometimes it's a should. It turns into a should, and it doesn't actually matter because there's a different way we can do it. So dropping the shoulds will help you have a business that you feel is sustainable, that you feel like you can stick around in. And ultimately, if you stick around long enough, it's inevitable. You'll get the clients, you'll get the money, you'll get the business, you'll achieve what it is that you need to achieve step by step, one at a time, and with way less shoulds. So those are the 7 things I wish I did differently in my money coaching business when I first started, and I hope they help you. And whether you're brand new or you've been doing this business for a while, I think there's much to glean from this, and I'd love to hear from you. So go ahead and reach out. The best way to reach me right now is probably email, tess@wanderwealthy.com. I can't wait for this new program to come to life, the Coaching Framework Builder. If you want to build your coaching program, or if you want to revamp your coaching program and figure out what's a great way to make a big impact, get results, and also have this tangible thing that I can go out there, be proud of, and sell with ease, then jump on the waitlist, wanderwealthy.com/framework. We will love to see you in this program. It's going to change your life, and more to come on that. So that's all for today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. And until next time, I hope you wander wealthy.